Darwin versus God, the clash between evolution and creation. Introduction to the debate. Welcome to Sci Discovery Chronicles. In today's episode, we're venturing into one of the most profound and enduring debates in history, the clash between Charles Darwin's theory of evolution and the traditional religious belief in creation. This is not just a scientific or theological dispute, it's a dialogue that has shaped our understanding of the world, influenced cultural and societal norms, and sparked debates that continue to this day. The roots of this conflict stretch back to the mid-19th century, when Darwin, an English naturalist, published his groundbreaking work on the origin of species. In this seminal text, Darwin introduced the idea of natural selection, a process he argued was the mechanism by which species evolved over time. According to Darwin, the diversity of life on Earth was not the result of a single act of creation, but rather the outcome of millions of years of gradual change. This concept was revolutionary, but it also posed a direct challenge to the prevailing religious view of the time. The idea that all species were created by a divine being, as described in religious texts like the Bible, was a fundamental belief for many. Darwin's theory suggested that life was instead the product of natural processes, governed by the laws of nature rather than divine intervention. This challenge to traditional beliefs set the stage for a conflict that would span centuries, engaging not just scientists and theologians, but also philosophers, educators, and the general public. In this episode, we'll explore the origins of this debate, examine the key arguments from both sides, and consider the impact of this conflict on our understanding of life and the universe. The origins of evolutionary theory. To understand the magnitude of the Darwin versus God debate, we first need to delve into the origins of evolutionary theory itself. Charles Darwin was not the first to suggest that species could change over time. In fact, the idea of evolution had been proposed by several thinkers before him, including Darwin's own grandfather, Erasmus Darwin, and the French naturalist Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. However, these early ideas lacked a convincing mechanism to explain how evolution occurred. Darwin's breakthrough came during his voyage on the HMS Beagle in the 1830s, where he observed the diversity of life in the Galapagos Islands. He noticed that similar species had adapted in different ways to their specific environments, leading him to the idea that species were not fixed, but rather could change over time in response to their surroundings. Upon his return to England, Darwin spent decades gathering evidence, conducting experiments, and refining his ideas. The result was his theory of natural selection, which posited that individuals within a species vary in their traits, and that these variations can affect an individual's ability to survive and reproduce. Over many generations, beneficial traits become more common within the population, leading to the gradual evolution of the species. When Darwin published On the Origin of Species in 1859, it was met with a mixture of intrigue, skepticism, and outright hostility. Many scientists were impressed by the sheer volume of evidence Darwin had amassed, and the theory of natural selection quickly gained traction within the scientific community. However, the implications of Darwin's theory posed a direct challenge to the religious beliefs that had dominated Western thought for centuries. The creationist perspective. On the other side of the debate stood the traditional creationist perspective. For centuries, the dominant explanation for the diversity of life on Earth had been found in religious texts. In the Christian tradition, the book of Genesis describes how God created the world in 6 days, bringing forth light, land, water, plants, animals, and finally humans in his own image. This narrative was not only a religious doctrine, but also a foundational element of Western culture and identity. Creationism asserts that life was created by a divine being in a form that was largely immutable. According to this view, the complexity and diversity of life are evidence of intelligent design, a purposeful act by a creator rather than the result of random mutations and natural selection. For many believers, the idea that humans share a common ancestor with apes was seen as not only scientifically implausible, but also spiritually offensive. The conflict between Darwin's theory and creationist beliefs was not just about the scientific details, it was about the broader implications for humanity's place in the universe. If Darwin was correct, then humans were not the pinnacle of creation, but rather just one branch on the tree of life. This idea threatened to undermine the special status that humans had long held in religious thought. The tension between these two perspectives led to fierce debates, both in public forums and within the scientific community. While some religious leaders sought to reconcile Darwin's ideas with their faith, others condemned the theory as heretical. This division created a rift that would continue to influence discussions on science, religion, and education for generations. The impact of Darwin's ideas on society. The publication of On the Origin of Species was a turning point in the history of science, but its impact went far beyond the scientific community. Darwin's ideas influenced a wide range of fields, from philosophy and ethics to politics and social theory. The notion that life could evolve through natural processes challenged the traditional views on morality, human nature, and the structure of society. In the years following the publication of Darwin's work, a movement known as social Darwinism emerged, which sought to apply the principles of natural selection to human societies. Social Darwinists argued that just as species compete for survival in the natural world, so too do individuals and groups compete in society. This idea was used to justify a wide range of social policies, from laissez-faire capitalism to imperialism and eugenics. While Darwin himself did not endorse these views, the association between his ideas and these social theories further fueled the controversy surrounding his work. Critics argued that social Darwinism was a misapplication of scientific principles and a dangerous justification for inequality and oppression. Meanwhile, the debate over evolution continued to play out in educational institutions, where the teaching of Darwin's theory was often met with resistance. In the United States, this tension came to a head in the famous Scopes monkey trial of 1925, where a high school teacher was prosecuted for teaching evolution in violation of state law. The trial became a national spectacle, symbolizing the ongoing struggle between science and religion in American society. Despite the controversy, the scientific evidence in support of evolution continued to grow, and today, Darwin's theory of natural selection is widely accepted within the scientific community as the best explanation for the diversity of life on Earth. However, the debate between evolution and creationism remains a contentious issue, particularly in the realm of public education and religious discourse. Modern perspectives and the future of the debate. As we move into the 21st century, the debate between Darwin and God continues to evolve. While the majority of scientists support the theory of evolution, there is still a significant portion of the population that adheres to creationist beliefs. This divide is particularly pronounced in certain regions and communities, where the teaching of evolution in schools is often contested. In recent years, some scholars and religious leaders have sought to bridge the gap between science and religion by proposing a synthesis of the two perspectives. This approach, often referred to as theistic evolution, suggests that evolution is the mechanism through which God brought about the diversity of life. Proponents of theistic evolution argue that there is no inherent conflict between the scientific explanation of life's origins and the belief in a divine creator. This perspective has gained traction in some religious communities, offering a way to reconcile faith with the findings of modern science. However, it has also faced criticism from both sides: creationists, who reject the scientific basis of evolution, and secularists, who see it as a compromise that undermines the integrity of scientific inquiry. As the debate continues, it raises important questions about the role of science and religion in society. Can these two worldviews coexist, or are they fundamentally incompatible? How should we approach the teaching of controversial topics like evolution in schools? And what does this ongoing conflict tell us about our understanding of the world and our place within it? In this episode of Sci Discovery Chronicles, we've explored the origins and development of the Darwin versus God debate, examined the key arguments from both sides, and considered the impact of this conflict on our society and culture. As we look to the future, It is clear that this debate will continue to shape our understanding of science, religion, and the nature of life itself. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most profound and enduring debates in history. Stay tuned for more episodes of Sci Discovery Chronicles, where we continue to explore the fascinating intersections of science, culture, and the human experience.